When you look around the world today, it's almost impossible to ignore how far surveillance technology has come. Cameras are everywhere, on streets, in stores, on buildings, even inside our own homes through smart devices. But it doesn't stop there. What we're dealing with now is not just about watching people, it's about knowing them, predicting them, and controlling them. With the rise of facial recognition, artificial intelligence, and behavioral tracking, governments and corporations can gather data on every move we make, every purchase, every word spoken near a microphone, even our emotions through facial expressions. This goes far beyond traditional monitoring. We're entering an age where a person's privacy is almost non-existent, where systems know more about your habits, your thoughts, and your routines than your closest friends do. Think about your phone. It tracks your location 24/7. Your social media records your opinions, your moods, your preferences. Your smart home listens, learns, and adjusts based on your behaviors. Now connect that to what the Bible warns us about, the rise of a global system that sees and knows everything, where nothing is hidden. In the book of Revelation, the concept of total control is described, people unable to act freely, movements watched, choices restricted unless they align with a certain system. It talks about the beast having power to monitor and enforce. That seemed impossible centuries ago. But today it's not only possible, it's already here, and it's expanding rapidly. Mass data collection is sold to us as convenience and safety, but at its core it creates a world where freedom is traded for comfort and privacy becomes an illusion. We're told it's for national security, for fighting crime, for public health, but the same tools can just as easily be used to suppress truth, silence dissent, and enforce conformity. China has already implemented a social credit system where your behavior determines your access to services, jobs, even travel. Imagine a world where a system decides whether you're obedient enough to buy groceries, attend school, or board a train. That's not fiction anymore. It's happening. Surveillance is no longer passive. It's predictive, preemptive, and deeply personal. And all it takes is one global crisis, one new law, one shift in leadership, and the entire infrastructure can be used not for protection, but for control. If you've been paying attention to the direction the world is heading, you've probably noticed how quickly we're moving away from physical money. Cash is slowly disappearing. Most people now pay with cards, mobile apps, or digital wallets. On the surface, it seems convenient. Just tap your phone or scan your face, and the transaction is done. But beneath that convenience is a growing system of control, and it mirrors exactly what the Bible warned us about in Revelation 13. It speaks of a time when no one can buy or sell unless they have the mark, something that gives permission to access the economic system. That used to sound like symbolic language, but today, with the rise of central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, it's becoming very real. These are digital versions of national currencies, controlled entirely by the government. They're programmable, trackable, and can be turned off with the press of a button. Imagine a currency where every single transaction is monitored in real time. The government knows what you bought, where you bought it, when, and even why. Now imagine that system tied to your digital ID, your social behavior, and your online activity. If you say something controversial on social media, your account could be flagged. If your carbon footprint is too high, your ability to travel or purchase certain items could be restricted. It's out, ready, being tested in parts of the world. In some countries, people can't access their bank accounts unless they comply with government mandates. Some can't buy train tickets or fly because their social credit score is too low. We're seeing a system being built where access to your own money is no longer guaranteed. It's conditional on behavior, belief, and compliance. Now add biometric systems into this, fingerprint scans, retina scans, facial recognition tied to payment. You're no longer just using money, you are the transaction. Your body becomes the password. That's where the idea of a mark comes in. Whether symbolic or literal, the prophecy points to a future where participation in the economy requires submission to a central power. And we're already watching the foundations of that system being laid. What's more troubling is how fast people are accepting it. often without questioning. They say it's for security, for speed, for modernization, but it means one thing. If someone controls the money, they control you. If you step out of line, speak against the system, or refuse to comply, they don't need to arrest you. They just freeze your account. Suddenly you can't buy food, pay bills, or travel. You're locked out of society. Artificial intelligence has moved far beyond just being a helpful tool or a smart assistant. It has started to mimic the very essence of what we used to think only humans were capable of: decision-making, reasoning, even forming opinions. But there's something deeper happening here, something that connects directly to biblical warnings. In the Scriptures, especially in the last days prophecies, we are told about deception, mass deception that will lead people astray. It speaks of false wisdom, of things that appear to be truth but are rooted in lies. Now think about what AI is doing. It gathers all the information the world has to offer, but that information isn't always grounded in morality or in truth. It's based on what people say, what the internet repeats, what the cult your values. So what happens when people begin to look to AI for answers about right and wrong, about life and death, about the future? Already we have AI that can generate sermons, answer spiritual questions, offer emotional support, and give life advice. People are starting to treat it like a godlike source of wisdom, one that's available 24/7 without judgment and with seemingly endless knowledge. But the danger is, it doesn't have a soul, it doesn't have the Spirit, it's not rooted in divine truth. It's an echo of whatever the world feeds into it. And if the majority of voices in the world are deceived, if the values behind the algorithms are godless or antichrist in nature, then what kind of guidance do you think AI will give? That's the deception. It sounds smart, it sounds logical, it sounds compassionate, but it's hollow. It cannot discern spiritual truth, and yet people will listen to it like it's the final authority. There will come a time, and in many ways it's already here, when people would rather ask a machine what to do than seek God's voice. That's not just technological advancement, that's spiritual displacement. And think about how easily AI can be used to manipulate. It can generate false images, fake voices, realistic video, and present them as truth. It can rewrite history, reinterpret facts, and reframe morals. It can make people believe in things that never happened. The Bible warns that in the last days, even the elect could be deceived if it were possible. AI can become the perfect tool for that deception, not because it chooses evil, but because it becomes the voice of a system that's already separated from God. It's subtle. That's what makes it so dangerous. People won't even realize they're being led astray. They'll think they're getting clarity, insight, and truth, when in reality they're being fed a carefully designed version of reality that supports a godless agenda. And then there's the pride. Mankind has always had a desire to become like God, to create, to control, to know all things. AI becomes the symbol of that desire. We're building systems that reflect our ambition to replace God, to put our trust in machines instead of the Creator. And just like in the Tower of Babel, this ambition comes with consequences. When we elevate human intelligence or artificial intelligence above divine wisdom, we invite confusion, division, and destruction. There was a time when altering the human body was limited to surface-level things, surgery, medicine, maybe some cosmetic changes. But now we've crossed into a completely different era. With gene editing tools like CRISPR, synthetic biology, and advanced bioengineering, we're no longer just treating diseases or fixing what's broken. We're rewriting the very code of life. DNA, once considered sacred and untouchable, is now something scientists feel free to edit, snip, splice, and rebuild. And at first, the reasons sound noble: curing genetic disorders, eliminating birth defects, boosting immunity. But underneath the surface, there's a growing ambition to enhance, to upgrade, to evolve humanity into something else, something beyond human. This is where it starts to echo biblical warnings about man trying to become like God. Throughout Scripture, there are clear boundaries set by the Creator, boundaries around life, around identity, around purpose. But modern science is obsessed with pushing past those boundaries. We are witnessing the creation of designer babies, where parents can choose their child's traits. We're seeing animals mixed with human genes to grow organs. We're seeing discussions about erasing aging, downloading consciousness, fusing brains with machines. It's not just science fiction anymore. The line between man and machine is being blurred, and some are already talking openly about the post-human future, a future where biology and technology are merged so deeply that the very definition of what it means to be human is lost. And the danger here isn't just in the science, it's in the spirit behind it. The drive to control life, to perfect it according to our own vision, is rooted in the same rebellion that led humanity to fall in the beginning. It's the belief that we know better than God, that we can create our own version of perfection without Him. This isn't humility. This is pride wrapped in lab coats and glowing screens. The Tower of Babel wasn't just about architecture. It was about ambition without submission. And we're seeing the same spirit today, but on a cellular level. Think about the implications. If we can program genes, what's to stop us from programming behavior, thoughts, desires? What happens when governments or corporations decide what kind of humans are desirable? What kind of traits are efficient? What if they eliminate those who don't meet the standard, all under the name of science and progress? That's not evolution. That's manipulation. And once you start modifying what God created, you invite a flood of consequences you can't control. The Bible tells us that in the days of Noah, the earth was filled with corruption, not just moral, but biological. It speaks of strange beings, unnatural unions, a world tampered with to the point that judgment had to come. Jesus said the end times would be like the days of Noah. Could it be that what we're seeing now is that same corruption returning, only this time hidden behind the language of progress and innovation? We're not just building tools, we're building a new version of humanity, one that may look advanced on the outside but is spiritually disconnected from its source. And once that identity is gone, once the image of God in us is altered, rewritten, or replaced, what's left? What happens when we no longer reflect our Creator but reflect the machine or the scientist or the system? There's a quiet but powerful movement pushing toward a future where life itself is redesigned in labs, where the natural is considered weak and the engineered is celebrated. And most people don't even see it happening. It's slow, it's subtle, it's dressed in words like innovation, freedom, health, and progress. But it's taking us down a road the Bible already warned us about, a road where man, driven by pride and curiosity, tries to take the place of God. Everywhere you look now, the world feels more connected than it ever has in human history. A message sent from a remote village can reach millions in seconds. A video recorded on a phone in one country can go viral across every continent within minutes. We have satellites circling the globe, fiber optic cables crossing oceans, and internet towers rising in even the most remote corners of the planet. And while this massive web of instant communication seems like a breakthrough for humanity, it also lays the groundwork for something the Bible warned us about thousands of years ago: a one-world system, a unified structure capable of speaking with one voice, enforcing one agenda, and demanding one type of allegiance. This kind of infrastructure wasn't possible in ancient times. Kingdoms were divided, languages separated, cultures isolated. But today those barriers are fading fast. Language no longer divides us. Real-time translation software lets us talk to anyone, anywhere. Culture doesn't separate us. We're all watching the same shows, following the same trends, influenced by the same online voices. The world is being harmonized, not through peace and understanding, but through algorithms, platforms, and global media. And once the system is unified, it becomes dangerously easy for a single message, a single rule, a single leader to influence the masses in a way that feels natural, even necessary. The book of Revelation speaks of a beast, a false prophet, and a global authority that deceives the whole world. It speaks of a time when everyone, regardless of nation, language, or status, is required to follow the same rules, to worship the same power, to receive the same mark. And for centuries, people wondered how such a thing could ever be possible. How could one message reach every tribe and tongue? How could one system control so many people across the earth? But now, with the rise of global communication technologies, we don't have to wonder. The tools are already here. Social media platforms can censor voices within seconds. A few clicks from a powerful entity can silence a truth teller or amplify a lie. A coordinated digital narrative can shape global opinion overnight. We've already seen how quickly the world can respond to a single news event, a pandemic, a war, or a political movement. When the right trigger is pulled, the world doesn't just react, it moves together, speaks together, obeys together. And while many celebrate this unity as progress, it also means there's less room for dissent, for individuality, for truth that challenges the dominant message. Those who question the system are labeled dangerous, misinformed, or hateful. And that kind of digital unity, that carefully crafted consensus, becomes the perfect stage for global control. Imagine a world where every screen shows the same message, where your phone, your TV, your computer, and even your smart home devices echo the same command. It might sound extreme, but the technology already exists. It's not about whether it's being used like that now. It's about how easily it can be. And then there's the spiritual side. When one system controls the narrative, it can also control belief. Religion can be redefined. Worship can be redirected. Truth can be reshaped to serve the agenda of the system. And we've already seen small examples of that, where truth is called hate, where faith is labeled extremism, where those who cling to biblical values are mocked or silenced. The infrastructure is not just digital, it's ideological. It's preparing the minds of the masses to accept that centralized control is not only acceptable but necessary for peace, unity, and progress. People used to escape reality by reading books or watching movies, but now we've created entire digital worlds where you don't just watch, you step in, you live inside them. Virtual reality, augmented reality, and the concept of the metaverse are reshaping how humans experience life, identity, and even meaning. These technologies are not just entertainment anymore. They are becoming alternate existences where people can be whoever they want, do whatever they desire, and completely disconnect from the physical world and its responsibilities. And at first glance, it looks exciting. Limitless worlds, total freedom, instant pleasure, a place where no one judges you. But what starts as escape quickly becomes entrapment. The more we live in a false world, the more we lose touch with the real one. And spiritually, that's dangerous because truth doesn't exist in illusion. Truth is found in reality, in God's creation, not in a simulation built by code and human fantasy. The Bible speaks of a great deception in the last days, a strong delusion sent upon those who refuse to love the truth. It doesn't say a small lie. It says a strong delusion, something so powerful and convincing that people willingly surrender to it. Now imagine a world where millions of people spend more time in fake environments than in real life. Imagine a system where digital experiences are more fulfilling than physical relationships, where people get married, work jobs, attend church, and even worship inside a virtual space that has no foundation in reality. That's not connection, it's captivity. It's a counterfeit existence that slowly replaces the one God designed for us. And when something false starts to feel more real than truth, deception is no longer just possible, it's inevitable. These technologies promise empowerment, but they quietly create dependence. Once someone is emotionally, socially, and financially invested in a virtual world, leaving it feels impossible. And that's exactly how control begins. If the metaverse becomes the place where you live, work, and buy, then whoever controls that space controls your reality. Rules can change overnight. Behavior can be monitored. Opinions can be filtered. And worst of all, God can be edited out entirely. No crosses, no scripture, no truth allowed unless it conforms to the system's values. That's not science fiction. That's already happening in small doses. Virtual platforms are already censoring faith-based content, promoting alternate belief systems, and encouraging a worldview that rejects biblical morality. It's dressed up in bright colors, fun avatars, and futuristic designs, but underneath it all is a calculated attempt to reshape how people think, feel, and ultimately believe. And then there's the impact on the human soul. God created us with a need for purpose, for real connection, for physical community. Virtual reality can mimic those things, but it can't fulfill them. It can stimulate, but it can't satisfy. It gives people the illusion of being seen, heard, and known while actually isolating them further. And in that loneliness, in that artificial satisfaction, people grow numb to the presence of God. They don't reject Him directly. They just replace Him without realizing it. They begin to worship comfort, image, and experience instead of truth, righteousness, and relationship. That's the real danger. Not that people will openly